So let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns, who's in Maine. So, Caitlin, Platner vociferously denies these allegations. What else did he say in the video?
Hey there. This is such a chaotic time right here in Maine. It was interesting, Vlad, because earlier this week we were talking to a voter here who said all of this is kind of made for a movie. And I agree with her because we have so many moving parts here. I mean, yesterday was one of those moments that the Democratic Party here and really across the country had been waiting for. They'd been anxious for Platner to drop out so that they can begin the process of picking a new candidate. Because remember, they only have until July 27th, just a couple of weeks from now, to pick someone new to face off against longtime incumbent Senator Susan Collins. And the reason we all care about this race is because this is one of those contests that's going to help determine which party controls the Senate. So the stakes are extremely high here. But going back to Platner, it was expected that he was going to drop out. But in doing so, he was still defiant. He dismissed the allegations against him. He also accused the party establishment and the party system of trying to force him out. Take a listen to how he characterized it.
It's not the false allegations, though, that have brought us to where we are. It's the fact that they are being used by the political establishment to put structural pressure on us. We live in a political system that is not built for normal people. It is a system that is built structurally to make sure that movements like ours cannot flourish. This is exactly the kind of political system that everyone voted against on June 9th. And for that reason, we need to be assured that it is going to be open and democratic as we move forward.
All right, guys, so let's be clear here. He was facing serious allegations, one of sexual assault, others of physical abuse. This was a red line for many of his supporters. Remember, his campaign essentially collapsed. He lost almost all of his support from top Democrats and also from a lot of those who had been with him from the beginning.
So you mentioned that deadline to pick a new candidate. Who's in the running right now for the Democrats, and what are they saying?
Yeah, Kelly, it is a mad dash right now to try to find someone to replace Platner. And the Democratic Party said yesterday that they are going to have essentially a nominating convention. What that looks like, they're still trying to work out the details. I mean, they just haven't been in this kind of situation before, so we'll stay tuned to that. But so far, we've already had at least 3 candidates drop their names into the ring. You have the co-founder of the Maine Beer Company, Dan Kleben. You have a state senator, a former state senator, Troy Jackson. We also just today heard from Dr. Nirav Shah, who was the former health director here. He's throwing his hat into the ring. We actually sat down with him yesterday. Take a listen to what he had to say.
And when we think about going up against an opponent like Senator Collins, who is uniquely vulnerable this year, we need to make sure that our nominee comes out of the gate with as much strength as possible. They need a full head of steam behind them, and a strong nomination process will help generate and propel them forward.
Now, this is a tough road ahead for Democrats. Not only do they have to find a candidate in the next couple of weeks, but they have to spend the next couple of months ahead of the election trying to win this race. And Susan Collins, who they are going up against, is the longtime incumbent here. She is a formidable force. She's the chairwoman of the Appropriations Committee. And talking to some voters here, they believe that is a very powerful position because she brings a lot of money back into this state. So a lot more to come, a lot more work to do from Democrats in a race that we'll be watching through November.
Caitlin, very quickly before you go, because it's an important question, are any of those candidates that Democrats are now looking, are they in the same vein as Graham Platner? Because let's remind our viewers that he garnered the interest in Maine because he wasn't an establishment Democrat. He wasn't part of the party apparatus. Are these folks establishment Dems, or are they fit, or are they cut in the same mold as Graham Platner?
Well, it's such a great question, Vlad, because not only these candidates, but the Democratic Party, they're trying to walk a fine line here because they know that they need to harness those voters, that momentum that Platner tapped into in terms of this kind of populist tone. They know that they need those voters to win in November. So we even heard the state Democratic Party saying, we're dismissing Platner, but we're not dismissing his voters. So some of these candidates are going to run on that outsider mantle for sure and try to harness that same energy that Platner tapped into. We'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns, some incredible reporting for us from Maine. Thank you, Caitlin.
For more on this fallout, let's bring in Kristian Ramos. He is the founder and principal strategist of Autonomy Strategies based in Washington, D.C. Appreciate you joining us today. I feel like it is a couple years ago. It's summer of 2024. Democrats had picked a candidate in a primary, and then they were having to scramble to find someone new. And we obviously know how that turned out. There was a lot of frustration by voters that they didn't pick the candidate in a traditional primary. And so let's talk about Maine now. It's a similar situation. Dems really felt like they had a shot at taking back some of the power in Congress. Do you think a new candidate can get enough support to defeat Susan Collins in November, given we know how the story turned out last time around?
Well, thankfully, it is not 2024 right now. And here's the thing everyone needs to keep in mind when thinking about the Senate race. Platner was a deeply tarnished candidate who was underperforming a generic Democrat. So getting him out early is actually the smartest move they could have made here. And as Simon Rosenberg recently pointed out, the reality is a solid, strong, generic Democrat can beat Susan Collins this November. Harris won Maine by 7 points in 2024. Our candidate for governor there leads by 15. The generic ballot is 53-42% Dem right now. This is the most favorable environment for Democrats of any battleground state currently on the map. Let me also add to that, Republicans have a structural disadvantage here nationally. Deeply toxic presidential candidate, anchor on all these candidates, high cost for food, high cost for gas, deeply unpopular wars. Right now, I think if we right the ship here, we have a strong chance of winning this election in Maine.
So, as we pointed out, Graham Platner has categorically denied the allegation against him. He says he did nothing wrong, and yet you have the party establishment, which he's blaming for getting him to suspend his campaign. Is that because that they thought that he was unelectable? And if so, why wait until this particular moment with this allegation when there have been multiple allegations? You even said it, Kristian, against him up until this point. And ultimately, should that judgment belong to the voters or should it belong to the party establishment?
Well, I think when we're talking about the voters were very clear that their red line was sexual assault. And the accusations against Platner were awful. And so I don't think this was a party establishment issue. I think this was an issue with voters in Maine who did not feel comfortable nominating or voting for somebody who had been accused of sexual assault and all the various other things. So I don't see this as an establishment versus a candidate. I see this as a candidate who deeply flawed, who was not vetted properly, whose campaign frankly lied to the American people and the voters in Maine. And I don't see this as establishment versus a candidate or a movement.
Just one quick follow-up. I mean, you mentioned the vetting piece of it. I mean, doesn't that come down to the party, who's, you know, they're all of the folks that are involved in this? Because it's not necessarily up to the voter to have to vet who they are voting for.
And we just showed a list of all the allegations against them even before this current one.
Right.
Well, that's the campaign, right? The campaign is not in the establishment folks do not get involved until much later on, after they win the primary. So, no, I mean, this campaign should have vetted and been more honest with everybody involved. So, no, I don't see this as a candidate versus, establishment issue.
All right, Kristian Ramos, really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Kristian.
much.
Thank you.